Hello and welcome to the Weekly Recap, the Saturday show that covers important and interesting news, events, and even some geek news of the past, starting off this week with a positive spin on a serious subject, voting. The paramilitary elections in the state of Belarus is not a situation the people of the country take lightly. They view this action as one where everyone's voice matters. So true is this fact that some voters who I didn't even know had citizenship there showed up to cast their ballots. I'm talking about Patrick Star, the Pink Panther, Chewbacca, a Stormtrooper, and even the Lord of the Sith himself, Darth Vader, came in. Why the Empire hasn't just annexed Belarus yet is beyond me, but at least they're interested in its policies, and this interest has had a hand in the results, causing the opposition leaders to win seats in the parliament for the first time in 12 years. Anna Konopatsakia, a member of the United Civil Party, and Elena Aniszczyzm, who represents the Belarusian Language Society, now each have chairs. This major milestone for the country potentially shows that Belarus wishes to improve relations with Western countries. The United States of America is a Western country which is trillions of dollars in debt. We can't afford to properly educate our children, keep our roads and bridges up to modern standards, assist our homeless, nor fix the water in the little area of Flint, Michigan, let alone rescue Detroit, which looks more like a war zone in Syria rather than a city in the greatest country in the world. However, we do have enough money to afford to have the largest incarcerated population of any country in the history of humanity. We can afford ongoing wars and conflicts that have lasted for nearly 15 years, and now we can apparently afford to send $38 billion in military aid to Israel. The current deal with the country that's wiping Palestine from existence has been getting $3.1 billion annually. However, this deal is set to expire in 2 years, so a new deal has been agreed upon to increase the yearly finances by $700 million to a current number of $3.8 billion per year. To quote my source, quote, "The funding includes money set aside for Israeli missile defense, which in the past had been funded ad hoc by U.S. Congress to the tune of up to $600 million annually. And in exchange for this military package, Israel will refrain from lobbying Congress for additional funds throughout the duration of this new pledge. Though sources told Reuters the wording of the deal may allow exceptions to be made in the event of war," end quote. Something tells me ISIS is about to bite the hand that feeds it, since the group has attacked pretty much every country in that area of the world except for Israel. How convenient. Speaking of religious extremists, let's focus on how France has been dealing with their situation. By the end of this month, a so-called Ponturity Center, which is a De-Radicalization center, is set to open in Beaumont-en-Veyron, which is a small town located 210 miles southwest of Paris, home to 2,800 people. This facility will welcome up to 25 individuals of ages from 18 to 30 who wish to rid themselves of their extremist views. The process calls for these people to actively seek out this center and enroll themselves before they do anything crazy. Okay, France, listen to me very carefully. Look at me, okay? Are you looking? Are you stupid? Anyone who is a religious extremist will not believe themselves to be said thing, and by the time that they get to the point where they might blow something up, there's no way in hell they'd step back and say, whoa, Allah would not condone this, let me rethink my life before I martyr myself. So I give you this ultimatum, either admit that you are incomprehensibly retarded, or this is the first step in what is soon to be a series of concentration camps where people will be detained without their will the instant you label them a religious extremist. While we're on the subject of extremist idiots, the militarized police force of the United States of America, apparently responding to a report of an armed robbery shortly after nightfall in the Old Town East neighborhood of Columbus, Ohio, they came across 13-year-old Tyree King and gunned him down. According to the trigger-happy badged murderers, the kid, quote, started to pull what looked like a gun from his waistband, end quote. Upon inspection of the corpse, they, quote, determined the weapon was a BB gun, end quote. Here is why this is malarkey. So many people have been getting shot and murdered by police over the past several years, there is no way in hell anyone, especially a black kid, would reach for anything in the presence of police, let alone be carrying any form of weapon, fake or not, unless they're in a gang and are currently rolling with said homies. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if the whole BB gun turned out to be a lie. This incident is to be investigated by the Criminal Incident Response Team. During this, the officers involved will receive mandatory psychological support counseling, and they have also been encouraged to take time off to recover. While we're on the topic of law enforcement, especially that of the U.S., 31-year-old Laurie Love, a resident of Strandenshall, Suffolk, United Kingdom, is currently in a bit of a situation. Apparently, the British student has been accused of hacking dozens of websites belonging to the FBI, the U.S. Missile Defense Agency, the U.S. Central Bank, and NASA, and the modern-day world empire wishes to extradite him for these accusations. These alleged crimes occurring between 2012 and 2013 while participating in an anonymous hacktivist campaign. These alleged crimes occurred between 2012 and 2013 while participating in an anonymous hacktivist campaign. If convicted, these crimes will land Mr. Love in federal prison for 99 years, where he will most likely suffer, especially since he has Asperger's syndrome. The Westminster Magistrates Court in London approved this extradition request, granting Love bail amid pending further legal actions. Not surprisingly, the verdict was met with gasps from the audience, with some members to even begin chanting "Kangaroo Court," whatever that means. The defendant's UK solicitor has stated that she was disappointed by this ruling and will appeal against this decision, first to the UK High Court, then to the European Court of Human Rights, which is conveniently located in Strasbourg. Further concerns come from the parents of the accused, who fear their child may commit suicide if the US gets its wish. However, Judge Nina Tempia has dismissed these concerns, believing the medical facilities in the United States prison facilities to be up to standards to assist with Mr. Love's mental and physical health issues. On top of that, prior to any appeals ability to be launched, Britain's Home Security needs to decide whether or not to authorize this extradition, due to this case being seen as the first substantive test of a so-called foreign bar, which is a, quote, legal principle that allows British courts to block extradition if it would be in the interest of justice to prosecute someone in Britain rather than abroad, end quote. Now, here's the thing. We all know what government and police do in these situations. They let people like Laurie stew in jail/prison for a bit, waiting for them to break. Then, once they have, they approach them with a golden opportunity and request that prisoner to put their skills to work for them with a promise of reduced sentences and/or freedom. So I present this. How about police and government stop this satanic practice and just approach them in the first place instead of causing all this needless stress and strife? It's simply inhuman. Although if I were Laurie, I'd GTFO and live with Julian Assange or Edward Snowden. And that concludes the show. You can check the underbar for any links you may be interested in, including the sources for the articles I brought to you. Don't forget to look right and left at every intersection, especially if you're playing Pokemon Go. You can also rate 5 thumbs and subscribe if you do so, please. For your weekly education on the happenings of the world around you, I am Aeoxander and you are you. Toodles!